Man, I'm getting so tired of everyone making everything about race. And then when you'll have actual racist comments come out, and then everyone makes, everything else about race, and it's all we're seeing. It Every discussion about what is happening right now in the country seems to involve race. Every article you see has to mention whether the person was white or black, whatever it may be. And it's just getting tiring, absolutely tiring. So then you do have moments like right here in this article. We have these two radio hosts had to just go and say something racist on air, didn't they? So if you don't know, they're two popular radio hosts in Rochester, Kimberly and Beck. And what happened was, during a discussion focused on the attack of a local couple following a recent Black Lives Matter protest in downtown Rochester, Kimberly Ray referred to the N-word 3 times during the segment, asking if attackers were acting in-wordish and inwardly. So I listened to the clip. No, she doesn't actually say the N-word, but she says, were they acting inwardly? So she's using it without using it. And I don't know what made her think that's okay to say on air. Well, then she used the excuse of it's a double standard. Other people get to say it, and I guess she's saying she should be able to say it. Honestly, I don't think anyone should be saying it. If it's that offensive of a term, nobody needs to be saying it. And if you got a radio program, you should know this. And this is just going to, fuel more people and get more people to say that there are more racists and white supremacists out there. And that was really bad and dumb of her and her host say. They've been terminated. It is whatever, but I just can't believe we have someone saying this with everything going on. You go over to Twitter, you look at the trending. You got White Lives Matter, Whiteout Wednesday. Yesterday was Black Lives Matter, Blackout Tuesday. You have Blue Lives Matter was just up here a bit ago. It's crazy. It's everyone dividing things into separate groups, right? And people make fun of the people that say all lives matter. They're really not wrong. Those people, maybe some people are doing it in retaliation to Black Lives Matter or whatever, but the fact that people have to get on there and create their own group, and the fact that we have to specify that different groups matter is a little ridiculous. If you're not some crazy extremist and you're your average, normal American citizen, you do realize that everyone's life matters and you're going to care about people who have injustice done to him. This whole thing with George Floyd, no one is saying that what happened to him was okay. People are in agreement. That was wrong, and that kind of stuff should not happen. That's bad. But do you know what? This kind of stuff does happen to all different types of people. Now, you're going to have people come out and argue. You'll see stats on here argued all day long. And people pick and choose and say, no, if you look at right here, if you count the deaths by just excessive force during this year, look, more black people died. Well, someone will go, well, no, if you look at police shootings and during this year and this year, more white people died. Okay, so it was more here and more here. That's really besides the point. One, because it's not a majority of our police force, so it's not systemic in any way. It happens to all different types of people. All different types. So it's not just about you and not just about your group. It is about everyone. The issue is not with race. And I understand people are going to get offended at that, which is ridiculous. But because it stops the, pulling the attacks to yourself. But stop with White Lives Matter. Stop with Black Lives Matter. Really, everyone's life matters. But your issue is not with a race. It's with a problem with authority in these types of scenarios. You have an abuse of power. Abuse of power affects everyone. The thing is, I feel like part of the reason that only one side gets really amped up on the news is because they only cover one side. You can find other stories. Granted, it takes a lot of digging because they're just in like maybe local news coverage and there wasn't outrage over it. But people of all different races, you know, are abused by cops at some point. Do all cops do this? Heck no. You have a lot of good officers and a lot of good police departments or sheriff's offices out there that, you know, treat people the way they're supposed to. So you want to separate into these groups. What does that do? That divides people. You're saying, well, we're more affected by this than you, so, you know, you should have pity on us. You should feel bad. You should step in and do something because it's your responsibility and your fault, and you need to fix this because we can't fix this. Stop me, us versus them type mentality. That is ridiculous. It's not helpful. It's not good. If you bring across this message to other people that look different than you, that you're in the same boat, that, you know, abuse of power affects everyone. Say, hey, you know how during the pandemic, people were telling you to stay home and we were all being oppressed? Or you know how, you know, maybe this story didn't come to as much light as this one? And look, this guy's life was unjustly taken and he was, you know, white, or he was any different shade of what your skin could be. If you come together over these things, you're going to be able to create a lot more change rather than dividing people into these separate camps, to where instead of actually making a change at where the problem's happening with an abuse of power, people aren't making progress towards that. They're just sitting here arguing stupid racial arguments back and forth at one another, making absolutely no progress. And like I said, this seeps its way into every news article now. They talked to George Bush about how to end systemic racism. Vox kills me. If you've seen any other videos I've done, you know Vox absolutely drives me insane because the articles they put out are absurd. This one is how to be a good white ally according to activists. So there are good ways, there are less good ways to be a white ally right now. Do not take cues from black leaders and create spaces for their voices to be heard. Don't think a performative emotional post on Instagram about your acknowledgement of racism does the trick. Do not center your feelings during this time of social unrest and uprising that's about racist violence against black Americans. Okay, so this article is they consult people here and talk about how just the things white people need to step up and do to stop the systemic racism against black people. Let's get something clear. Racism is bad. If you see someone else as being a victim of a racist encounter, or you have seen something happen to them, or they have evidence that something has happened to them that is racist, you should stand up for that person and help them out. That is the right thing to do. You stand together. Both ways. If no matter who the person is, what they freaking look like, if someone else is doing something that is rooted in racism towards them, you take care of it. And, you know, here they say things. God, this article is so long. They say just basically, you know, a voice is enough. You need to basically change the system. And they keep saying things like you can do your own research into how the system is set up against black people. It's not hard. You can just Google it. Well, the problem is when you Google it, you find articles like Vox that just say, yeah, there's systemic racism against black people. Well, it is a little harder to do your digging. But like I said, you're going to find different statistics that people are going to pick and choose from, and you're going to have people arguing both sides the whole way through. So the best case is to just stick up for other people in the instances where they are affected by racism, and not just paint a broad picture and say that everyone of such and such a color is affected by such and such a group every step of the way, every time. That doesn't bring people together, that splits them apart. And they even go on to say things such as like white people should be stepping in, putting their bodies in between the black protesters and the police officers at these protests and riots. Now, I understand if police were going out and only targeting black people at these riots. White people, yeah, go stand up for those people if they were being unjustly targeted specifically because of their race. But that's not what we're seeing. Now, if you go to the news real quick, again, you're going to see that. But if you go to actual people's footage of these riots, people are filming these things left and right. You're going to see all different races, colors of people being beaten by cops. Whether now in these videos they might be a rioter, they might be a peaceful protester, some of them might be justified people defending themselves. It's all over the spectrum. There's everything out there. It's not what you're saying here in this article. So if you're asking people to be human shields for you, and you're asking people to do some of these things when there's not necessarily racism involved, it's just frustrating. I'm done with it being about race. I am ready to move on and for people to actually work on real problems going on that are right in front of them than constantly making it about race. And yes, I hate that too, because then the way this happens is now actual, racist things that are happening, it's watered down because of so much accusation. The term, it's the boy who cried wolf, You say, every time somebody says something, racism, racism, racism. When there's actually racism, people are going to be like, oh yeah, they're just saying that again. You're not helping yourself. Both sides of people. If you call anyone who disagrees with you a white supremacist, you're not going to make them want to help and support you when something bad actually happens because you've called them white supremacist. Or if you call someone the N-word, or you say that you hate black people, or you call all black people rioters or whatever, that doesn't get them on your side. They're not going to want to help you. These people on both sides making extreme race arguments aren't unifying, helpful, and frankly, making things worse. So how long do we encourage this? How long do we let this go on for without actually trying to unify people? I know people love conflict and love to stoke the fires, and people are addicted to outrage. It's crazy. And people want to be mad, but it seems like majority of Americans would want to be unified, you would think, right? That's what bugs me. If you want actual progress and you want things to be fixed, you don't cause divisions by separating people. You find the thing that brings them together, and you find something that unites them and unifies them, and you go off that. And I understand that's hard too, because if all these people are hearing these things from sources they're supposed to trust, such as news or different politicians they elect, and then those people are the ones actually driving a wedge in there and making everything about race and trying to split people up, I understand how it's hard to become unified, because these people that you're looking up to and trusting are the ones causing the division in the first place. So what that indicates to me is you need to start looking somewhere else. You need to start looking to different leaders, and you need to start looking to different places for your sources of information. Because while a lot of these places may contain a hint of truth, or may even be mostly true, but with a few things emphasized or left out or twisted in a way to fit a certain narrative, you're not going to get the whole truth. And it's going to cause division even further. So I would encourage you to go out, find maybe smaller news sources, or, check out people who get these stories themselves, ask questions, and find ways to unite yourself with people on the other side. Talk to them. If you see someone's post that is, causing more racial tension, try to de-escalate that. Get people to, work together on things and discourage that kind of behavior and encourage good behavior. And I think we'll be in a better place. I would hope this can de-escalate. Things are getting pretty bad, and it just seems like it's been building up over the years, and you can't force people not to act this way, but we can do our best to try to calm people down and unify them. That's going to be all for this segment of today's show. I thank you guys for tuning in. Stay safe out there if you're near the riots, and we will see you on the next segment.